Hi, I'm Joshua Ponsafo of the New African Concept. I believe strongly that you've been blessed so far with the various episodes of the Voice of Reformation. And I'm very much excited to inform you that with the next 3 months ahead, February, March, and then April, there is a special package in the area of apologetics. I know you have several questions on your mind, and so do I. For the month of February, we'll be considering the subject area of the Bible. So questions like, is the Bible truly the Word of God, or it is just a figment of human beings? And that, how did we even arrive at getting our Bible today? Are there various versions of the Bible? And how did we even get that? And are they the same? Are they similar? Or they are different? In the month of March, we'll also be looking at the subject of black skepticism. I believe you've heard and seen that there is a new wave that is called the woke or black consciousness, the new form of Pan-Africanism, where they are hitting strongly that for Africa to advance, we must do away with everything called religion, particularly the Christian faith. Was Christianity carved by the white man in order to rule or manipulate the black man? Is it true that we have the Bible and in several churches doing the biddings of the white man? Is it even true that Christianity impedes growth or otherwise? Join me this and every Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Voice of Reformation as we look at these subjects. We have able facilitators, the likes of Elder Emmanuel Emisa, Pastor Jacob Honey, Pastor Patrick, Mark Edubuateng, and then Kafui Tay. The good thing is also that the last Friday of every month, you get an opportunity to join in by bringing on board your questions so that we ask them for serious interactions. I believe that with all these interactions, the ultimate goal is that Ghana and by extension Africa will be liberated and saved. See ya. All right. A very good evening to you all once again. Today is another Friday. We thank God for yet another week. And today, this is the Voice of Reformation. I'm Joshua Oponsafo of the New African Concept. And as we always do, we come your way with a Voice of Reformation on Friday evenings. Let me quickly tender in this sincere apology for today. Actually, as it was published or made known, we are to have a discourse on the apparent errors in the Bible with our brothers Emmanuel Emisa and then our brother Mark. Unfortunately, both have one or two issues meeting up, and because of that, there will be the need for us to still continue. So today we want to make it yet a very special program, and that with this we'll have it in two parts. The first part, so we'll be talking on the subject, the effect. What has been the effect of religion on Africa's development? Or if we want, we can even localize it to that of Ghana. We'll be having these discussions much more in March, but these are only precursors. And I want us to have very, very serious and an interesting discussion tonight over the period that we have. What has been Africa's, or what has been the effect or the impact of religion on Africa's development? Has it really advanced Africa's development or otherwise? So for the first 30 minutes, I will give a bit of a teaser because we'll be delving into it deeply somewhere in March. I wouldn't want to be very verbose on it. So I will just give some teaser for the first 30 minutes. And then today, for the second session, you will have the opportunity to join me. The we have the link as the first comment under this particular video that is showing. So you can click on it when the time gets up. That is the second phase. I'll just notify you. You can click on it, and then you can also share your mind. Yeah, you can share your thoughts on the subject matter. So first of all, we humbly apologize for the need to switch. It was a bit of an emergency, but we must still move on. And as I said, we want to have a discussion on the subject of what has been the effect or the impact of religion on Africa's development. I will be scaling down specifically to the Christian religion. There are other, we'll be talking around it in more sense somewhere in March, but I'll be talking for tonight, just tease up. And once you see for the second session, as I said, you'll be able to join in. You click on it, you join in, and then you also share a thought. If you have a question, you can ask. And these are the kind of conversations that we want to go. So once again, all of you, you are warmly welcome, and then we can set the ball rolling. When it comes to the subject, as I say, you let me limit myself to Christianity. So this is quite dicey, sensitive, controversial. So just listen to what I have to say, maybe for about 20 minutes, and then you can also join in. To say that Christianity has not actually helped Ghana, and by extension Africa, is to be, historically ignorant, or it means that you are not being very fair to yourself, especially if you are a scholar. There are not two ways that Christianity has actually actively and positively affected Ghana and then Africa. In Ghana, you can talk of some health and a good number of health conditions or health facilities that were championed by the church. You can talk of several of our school or our educational system was also championed by the church via the early missionaries, and even certain plants that were not indigenous with our soil. Some of the missionaries, when they are coming from their home countries, they came down with, some of those stuffs. So like abrofunkatie, anything like abrofunkatie coming from the fact that they brought it down here, and it was the work of the missionaries. So there was an agricultural contribution, there is a health contribution, there is an educational contribution, and then even to some extent there has been a bit of moral contribution, and then all that. My focus tonight is not to highlight the positives, but rather to look at certain areas that the church, whether consciously or unconsciously, over the period of time has done, and perhaps sometimes is even doing, because we may be ignorant of it, which is really retrograding or is not really bringing about much development. So the critics of Christianity, when they arise, especially the new wave of this Black consciousness and then these, Pan-Africanism, when they take their bullet, they take it straight towards the Christians. They have their own problems, especially when it comes to proper analysis. And that is why, don't take me for an atheist. I am a Christian. I am one of you. But we have gotten to a time where we must know that, well, when it comes to ABC, we may not necessarily be getting things right. Yes, so as I said, the preamble is that there are a good number of stuff that the church has done and is still doing that really deserves an applause. And that is not my focus for tonight. My focus for tonight is to highlight some of the stuff that, I mean, when Christianity started all the way from the 15th century in Ghana, it has messed up, or perhaps is still in the process of messing up. Mind you, follow critically, put down your questions or your suggestions and your thoughts. After my short presentation, you join in, and then you can also come in with your point. So I'll be touching on maybe 3 or 4 major points for tonight. One, now, we know, just a brief background, we know that the Portuguese came here in 1471. I mean, when they got here, by 1478, they were largely Romans. So by 1478, we had the Roman Catholic missionaries coming down to Ghana. And they were actually sent off by the Dutch, who they were more inclined towards Anglican or Anglicanism. So the Roman Catholic Church folded up, and then they came back somewhere in 1888. Then we had the Anglican Church also coming, and then when they were overthrown by the British, they were also, I mean, they also had to fold back. And then afterwards, we had the missionaries coming in. We have the Basel Mission, that is the Presbyterian, coming here in December 1828. We had the Methodist, that is the Wesleyan Mission, also coming here in Ghana on the 1st of January 1835. And then we had other, I mean, the SU also joined in, and then we had other around 1896 and then all, and other several staffs through till now. One of the things that unfortunately religion, particularly, I mean, or specifically Christianity, um, might have done, especially through certain people. When you look at history, you realize that even Western civilization rides on the wheels of the Christian faith, Western civilization. So my focus is on the abuse of religion or the abuse of Christianity. And that is the difference between maybe myself and then maybe the other people who are also criticizing Christianity. To them, they think that everything about Christianity is bad. But it is logical. If some people that I believe really understood Christianity have been able to use it to advance human development and progress, and some people whom I will say that did not understand what Christianity was or is about have also abused it, because when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So some people have also abused it, and then they have used it to advance their personal parochial wickedness and then sentiments. So you cannot just lump it together and say that Christianity is bad. It has been used historically to advance good stuffs. It has also been used historically to advance bad stuffs. So for you to conclude, then we must know what Christianity is about. And I will say that that has been an abuse. So I am looking at how Christianity has been abused, either deliberately or, ignorantly, to push certain parochial interests. One of the things is the subject that I will call, the loop of suffering. The loop of suffering. What I call or what I refer to as the loop of suffering will be what this guy talks of, that religion or Christianity is the opium of the masses. Now, when some of the whites came, and then some form of distorted Christianity that either was deliberately or ignorantly advanced, the fact is that sometimes the picture was, if you are suffering, that is the burden of holiness. Righteousness and holiness, or to be a Christian, was equated to suffer or to suffering. It is true, as the Bible makes it clear, that if we want to share in the glory of Christ, then we must also share in his sufferings. Once you take a step to be a Christian or a follower of Christ, it is obvious that you are going to contend with certain issues or certain suffering, certain struggles. You will have to pick up your own cross. And that is because of the decision to follow Christ. But this kind of suffering is not
It was carefully crafted to mean that if you are suffering, like poverty and then poor health and then all those kind of stuff, that is what it means that you are being a Christian. It means that you are being righteous. And nothing can be further from the truth. So this is an abuse, because when you subject a group of people to such a mentality, it actually kills the spirit of fighting back. You wouldn't want to fight back, because at the end of the day, I mean, heaven is our goal. Is heaven our goal? Yes. At the end of the day, when we have served our purposes here on earth, our souls will be wafted into eternal bliss. But before then, we have a purpose. But when you overemphasize that and create a notion that everything about Christianity is just to go to heaven. So in that case, when you have a tyrant, when you have, I mean, people that are keeping you bound, your focus is not to fight for the liberation, for the advancement of the common good of the people. Your focus is that, well, these people, they are only wicked people. At the end of the day, they are going to burn in hell. As for us, you let us keep ourselves and then unfortunately, more than 200 years down the line, the church is still grappling with such a psychology, or should I say, a theological fashion. Is it therefore a wonder that though Ghana presents statistically as 72.1% Christian nation, but it is almost as though the church has been isolated, separated, insulated from the pains of the society? It is because of this psyche. Nothing bothers us, because for us, heaven is our goal. So if the politicians are chopping the money, though we have influential voices that could speak up. For instance, look at this current this debt exchange program, which, as I always call in my articles, that it is a lazy man's approach to economic recovery system, where poor pensioners are just being, they are just being brutalized financially. We have the Christian Council, we have Ghana Pentecostal, we have the Catholic Bishop, we have several. Where is the voice of the church? These are staffs that the church should take front lines and front seats, as our old men and women are, picketing at the Ministry of Finance in order to have their grievances heard. The church must be, and then the influential voices, our fathers, and then the church should come together and then communicate with one strong, thunderous voice to the government that what you are doing is not right, and the fact that you cannot do that. But where is the voice of the church? Silent. Why? Because heaven is our goal. This world is not our home. We are all birds of passage. So, 6 feet awaited all of us. So, because of that, we are not focusing on that. So, that is the first point that I'll touch on. That is the cycle of, suffering, or the loop of suffering. So, religion, if it is not well discussed and if it is not well dispensed, will produce a people that are willing to suffer and suffer unnecessarily, because to them, in their minds, the essence of the Christian faith or religion is just to go to heaven. So because it is heaven going, whatever is going on in the society, they don't care. If they have a tyrant as a leader, they are not willing to put down their ideas. They are not willing to come together as a strong voice to what? To fight it back. And that is why we had people like Karl Marx saying that religion presents as the opium of the masses. Opium is just like a painkiller. So what it means is that instead of facing the realities of your pain, you use the church or religion as an escapist route, so that you say that, well, there's no need to struggle. It takes away the fighting spirit. This is one of the ways that, unfortunately, Christianity, I would say, abuse of religion or a distorted understanding of Christianity has actually brought us. We are not willing to advance. We are not willing to fight injustice in the land. We are not willing to ward off poverty. We are not willing to do these things because we are so obsessed with going to heaven and eternity much more than doing something to represent, even as Jesus said, to occupy till he comes. The second point that I'll touch on is the fact of money or wealth creation, or yes, wealth and money. Now, it started with a particular trajectory, and and currently we are also contending with another trajectory. I've always said that if one error comes on board, in your quest to solve that mistake or error, if you don't take care, you go to the other extreme end of that same spectrum. And then at the end of the day, now you present to us two errors. So we had one error in terms of our understanding towards the subject of money and wealth. And then the church, after a while, realized that, there is a particular problem. Unfortunately, the church's, quest to solve that problem has also overstretched beyond the optimal or the optimal biblical stand. And we've gotten to the other extreme of the spectrum. And now we're having two parallel errors running together. What do I mean? The first aspect is this. When you have certain scriptures that is being misunderstood, for instance, when you subject a group of people consistently to the fact, to a misinterpretation of texts like, look at how or see how, or it is more difficult for a rich man to go to heaven than for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Is it in the Bible? Yes. Jesus said it? Yes. What was the context? That is what we must be talking about. And actually, what did he or what did he seek to communicate? We take things out of context, and it means, so the psyche is that to be rich means that you are getting things wrong. It means you cannot be spiritual and be wealthy, because the richer you are getting, then the more hellish you are becoming. Because, we will quote that Jesus is saying that it is more difficult for a rich man to get to heaven. So the understanding is, then if you are poor, then it means that you are closer to heaven. And we also will bring in the example of Lazarus and the rich man to buttress the point that what Jesus meant was that Lazarus was, able to get to Abraham's bosom because he was poor. And then the rich man was able to get to hell because he was rich. Gross misunderstanding, gross misinterpretation of the text. So what does it produce? And then even the worst of it is the misinterpretation of this text, that the love of money is the root of all evil. Even many people even don't quote it well. They don't even bring the love of money. All what they say is that money is the root of all evil, though the Bible actually meant the love of money is the root of all evil. It has also been abused and it has been misinterpreted. So when you have some of these things, misinterpretation of the text in the church, it produces a group of people that are not willing to go through hard work, diligence, in order to what? To create wealth. So for many African Christians, our attitude towards money and wealth is that money is bad. Money is evil. It will make you go to hell. It will make you cause a lot of atrocities and then sin. So, our minds, we have Christianity in Africa has produced more subsistent Christians who, are just living within their means, instead of pressing on to make more money in order to use it as vehicles to advance the frontiers of the kingdom of God. Many people have become subsistent because consistently the church has wrongfully taught that the money is the root of all evil, whereas it is the love of money which is rather the root of all evil. So it has been wrongfully what? Presented. Now, over the time, the church realized that no, people are becoming poor. We are not getting money, and then all that. So they tried to what? Bring in a particular carved gospel, which we popularly call the prosperity gospel. The prosperity gospel came in as a quest to solve the poverty mentality that have been created by misinterpretation of some of the text, like Lazarus and then the rich man, like the root, money is the root of all evil. Like, it is difficult for a rich man to go to heaven, more difficult than even for the camel to go to the eyes of the needle. The church realized that it has messed up with those interpretations because many of the Christians have become poor. In the church's quest to solve this problem that it has created for itself, unfortunately, went or has gone to the other extreme by creating another error, theological error, which we call prosperity gospel. There is only one gospel, which is the gospel of the kingdom. Prosperity is, within the range, but there is no gospel called prosperity gospel. The Bible does not endorse prosperity gospel. The Bible or Christianity, on the teachings of Christ and then the early apostles, they knew only one gospel, which is what? The gospel of the kingdom. And that was what, Paul was saying, that if anybody preaches any other gospel apart from this kind of gospel, let the person be accursed. Why? Because it is only the gospel of Christ, which is the gospel of the kingdom, that has the potential to liberate individuals, families, societies, nations, continents. Is it not sad that for more than 200 years of the church in Ghana and Africa, we are the most religious? Today is Friday. Oh boy. Today is Friday. Places will be full to capacity, from online to on-site. From stadiums to, conference halls to classrooms to everywhere will be full with prayer. Unfortunately, we are the most corrupt. It is antithetical. It's a very strange paradox. It is because, so these are the negative contributions of an abused Christianity. It is important that we talk about these things because we need a serious theological liberation. I've always said that every theology comes with a psychology. Doctrine is very important because out of your psychology, it determines how the people are going to live. So prosperity gospel then comes in as a quest to solve the problem of poverty mentality of the Christians. And what do we have? The prosperity gospel came in and it has also created an extra mess. So now we have two conjoined errors when it comes to the African Christians' attitudinal disposition towards wealth and then money. One error is the poverty mentality, where it is like to be spiritual means to be poor, and then to be carnal means to be wealthy. And that is one error. Another error, as brought about by the prosperity gospel, is to have money, but there are two problems with that mentality. One is that the means of having those money have become more miraculous. Miracle money. Pay your tithe. If you don't pay your tithe, your pocket will be tight. Your life will be tight. So acronyms and then dictums and maxims have been created. And then people have been consistently told that your source to financial liberation is to pay tithe and sow seeds. Is that the truth? Obviously not. There is nothing wrong with giving money to support the work of the ministry. But when you create a mentality in the minds of people that their financial advancement or their financial, blessings is directly proportional to how much they are giving, their consistency in tithing, then you are creating another mess. That is another thing that the church has gotten it wrong. So because of that, the average Christian is paying tithe, he's sowing seed, prophetic seed, and then annual harvest, first seed, all kinds of seeds. And when he is doing that, he is transactional in his mind, thinking that I have been told that as for me, I can only have a financial liberation by sowing seed. And when he looks across, just when he looks across the horizon, he sees people who are not sowing seeds. In fact, people who don't have even a covenant with God, and they are making money. And the Christians are becoming confused and confused and confused. Is it hard work, or is it diligence, or is it consistency that brings about money, or it is just a spiritual game of sowing and then reaping? Confused. This is a very serious mess that the church has created in its quest to solve a particular error that it started with. That is the second thing. Maybe because of time, because as I said, I would like you to join the conversation. I'm very sure that by this time we have the link over there. Um, um, yes, we have the link over there. Uh, when I just wrap up, I'll just give my last point, and then you can join in. When you click on the link, it will bring you here. Also, you can share your thoughts. Yes, so I can see, Senior Ija, and then Richmond, and then Co. And then others. God richly bless you, Israel, and then Co. Okay, so let me add my last point to it, and then I think we can then open the floor for further conversations. So I've spoken about two things. The first thing, I spoke about the concept of suffering, the concept of suffering. And then the second thing, I spoke about the misinterpretation of various texts and creating a mindset, a poverty mindset. And then our quest to solve it, to create a wealthy mindset, we have now attached it to certain games, or should I say certain, transactional elements, that is what is going to bring about our financial prosperity. And as I said, the second problem with even the prosperity mentality is that, unfortunately, those who are able to get the money, they also live into luxury. So with a few of the believers that are able to become wealthy, instead of using it to advance, the kingdom of God or the work of the kingdom, what they do is that they live in affluence, and they are rather using it as a means to suppress the many others in the church and then even out of the church. A third point that I'll touch on, and then I'll pause on it for you to also join in, is that white superiority. White superiority. Unfortunately, the church or Christianity, consciously or unconsciously, over the ages or over the period, and that was one of the problems with the kind of Christianity that the white man brought to us. The kind of Christianity that they brought to us was a kind of Christianity covered with Western mentality. What they should have done is that they should have given us the Bible, or they should have given us the pure biblical Christianity, so that we will plant it in the seeds of the African soil, in the soils of Africa, so that it will yield its own unique idiosyncratic fruit. Unfortunately, they created a psyche. The missionaries, when they came, they assumed wrongly or wrongfully that whatever we were doing was idolatrous. So they equated anything black to be wrong and evil. And then they equated everything white to be righteous and holy. So what happened is that it sent a signal to our minds that we must do away, or we must shun away with majority of our culture, and then adopt not the culture of the kingdom but Western culture, so that it will make us civilized. That was one of the errors of the church, or should I say Christianity, the kind of Christianity that they brought onto us. It was Christianity covered with Western garments, and that was the limitation. Unfortunately, for more than 200 years down the line, it has continued unabated. Christians, we should arise and then identify some of these errors to deal with. So today, we have that white supremacy. White supremacy. So some of the ways they did was a cultural adjustment. Cultural adjustment to mean that they were telling us that most of the stuff that we were doing was idolatrous. And because of that, we should adopt theirs because they are more enlightened, they are more civilized. So we should adopt theirs. So Western civilization, or should I say the Western mindset and then the Western way of doing things, was assumed to be biblical, whereas the cultural or the indigenous way of doing things was then assumed to be evil. So the devil was given black color. God, Jesus, was given white color. White to be blacklisted. So now the word even blacklisted, whitelisted, and then all that. That's just by the way. Another mess that came was by the time we realized we had this huge picture of a European that was called Jesus Christ. And up to today, there are several homes and churches that still have those images there, and in their minds, that is Jesus Christ. How wrong can we be? Because we know that Jesus was a Jew, so his facade would be more of Jewish. But they took somebody with just a blonde hair and then, blue eyes. It was, just a Western figure. The usual Jesus picture that we normally know, many people don't know. So picture, no, a Pope Biba. Just look at the irony. Pope, you say Roman fathers, they don't marry. How much more the Pope? But around the 16th century, we had a particular Pope, or we had a number of popes that they move for again, yes, wine. Inti Pope, oh no, you have taken an oath not to marry. He was sleeping around and then had children. One of the children, or one of the sons of this Pope that has gone sexually rogue, is actually the face of the usual Jesus picture that we have. So that mentality increased white superiority in the minds of the people. So at Koswama, people think that, and then we even carved it in idioms. Into your kasabi say ope se ukonya menchen na se unhunu ushia bronia sign. If you want to go to God and then you meet a white man, stop. What does it mean? It means that the white man is God. And what about the black man? As for us, we are good for what? We are carriers of stones, and then we are hewers of plants or of firewood. Slavery was given a backbone by a section of Christianity. Some of these things, they are hard to be spoken, but it is unfortunately true. And that is what I call abuse of the Christian faith. So slavery was endorsed. We have Bible commentaries that wrote concerning the curse that Noah gave to his sons. And actually it was, we had those three sons and then all that. So Ham, and then it was directed to Canaan. We had Bible commentators, renowned Bible commentators, that when they got to that point, they said that the descendants are the Africans. So the black man is under an eternal curse, as sanctioned by the text of the Bible, that they are to remain slaves. And these were espoused by powerful theologians. So it gave impetus, it gave strength. Is it the fact that it endorses? Obviously not, because slavery was abolished by William Wilberforce, who also happened to be a Christian. But because it was abused by way of misinterpretation, it gave a strong backing to those who were using it. Then afterwards came colonialism. So what am I driving at? What I'm driving is that the concept of white supremacy was also championed as a means or as a result of abuse of Christianity by creating, and what they did was that they created a mental, psyche, that anything black was wrong and evil, everything white was right and holy. They created, that psyche that our culture was idolatrous, and their culture was, righteous. They created the psyche even by bringing in Jesus' picture, and then, as I said, which was just a particular European, to tell us that this is what it means to be God. So much so that we also accepted it and said that if you want to go to God and you meet a white man, you have actually met God. And then it led to, and then there were other theologians that also supported slavery, and then it also culminated in colonialism. When you put everything together, it is called white supremacy. Today, slavery is gone, colonialism is gone, but the mindset is still around. When the white man comes here, all of us begin to think that we have seen a special creature or creation. When we are dealing with our fellow black men, we will harass them at the offices. Immediately, a white man pops in, and then we begin to salute, call him boss, and then all that. Why? Because of his color. So it has created an identity crisis for the black man, and then he begins to feel that he is subservient to the white man. So these are some of the ways that religion has been abused. Christianity has been abused, and it is affecting the progress of Africa and Ghana. There are many others, but I'll pause here. So I'm very sure that the link is now over there. You can join in. You can join in. You can click on the link, and then it will bring you straight up here. And then you can also share your thoughts. What do you think? You can disagree with me. You can agree with me. You can come from different perspectives. Let us get interactive. We have about maybe 20 minutes more. Let us get interactive, and then see what we have. At the end of the day, we just want the way forward. What do you think must be or should be the way forward? Yeah, so you can just click on it, and then I'm sure it will bring you here, and then we can also hear your voice and then your thoughts around it. Yeah. So whilst we do that, I'll just be touching on still a few, and then we move on. Yes. So as I was saying, when it comes to subjects or issues of this sort, it is very sensitive. But at the same time, it is very, very much important that we get these things. So if you have been following what we have been saying, you realize that what we need as a people is a serious mindset change, or what it is normally called a paradigm shift. And this is not just a simple, it is just a simple word, but we normally use it, mindset change, mind shift, paradigm shift, and then all that. But what we are talking about is a more radical, revolutionary reprogramming. Ghana must undergo a serious, the black man must undergo a serious reprogramming of his mindset, because his mindset has been weakened and damaged from all corners. And I speak particularly to the church as well, that the church must come to terms with these things and must begin a serious reformation, a serious reorientation, a serious journey of doctrinal purity. Let me give you this analogy to tell you how, unfortunately, it is just like the posture of the church is like we are, just see yourself like a polytank, or you have a barrel, and then you have been fetching water since morning. Odim say ankre we no ade a oko eye bucket ebia 10 a ebeyema. But unfortunately, what bears 25 ade ni nyema. What it tells you is that ebia na ankre no bebiate. Yeah, so please, as I said, the lines are open, especially the link is there. Yes, the link is there. The StreamYard link is there. I want us to get more interactive. So you can click on it and then you can share your thoughts on the subject matter. We are talking of Africa's, or the weight or the effect of religion on Africa's development, particularly of that of Christianity. Yeah, so you can click on it and then also you can share your thoughts in one way or the other, briefly. Okay. Yeah, so I was talking of the analogy that unfortunately, and then it is very, very sad. Unfortunately, the posture of the church has been like someone who is trying to fill a barrel with water. It was empty, and then you have been fetching water since morning. In fact, you have been fetching water for 3 days now, and the barrel is not full. The most logical thing is to start searching around the barrel to see if perhaps there is any leakage, so that you wouldn't continue doing it. Is it not sad that ankrena wudi inso egumu no abo enunti leakage abanchen ana enyunu no, instead of say obema wadwen akosi say ehene na enyunu say the beya obetimi aso ano no, you keep on fetching more water, and then it is not getting full, and you keep on fetching more water. In reality, this will seem, illogical to you, but that is the state of the church. We have been doing programs and programs and programs and programs and activities and activities and activities and activities. We have been repeating this over and over and over again. If for more than 200 years of the church in Ghana and Africa, this is the system. It's not going to, because at the end of the day, it is simply around the same thing. The burden we carry is that, no, let us revisit the barrel, because baby apai enuntina insuo no enyuni no. What the church needs is not more programs. What the church in Ghana and Africa needs is not a quest for more activities. It is not a programs bebree. There's nothing wrong with programs, but there is a leakage, and until we sort out those leakages, no, programs upon programs, activities upon activities, pastors upon pastors, billboards upon billboards, we will continue having programs from stadiums, programs, conference halls, programs at the field, programs at the school park, programs at the lecture hall, we can have it since Adam till eternity. If we don't revisit those things, then there's going to be a problem. My earnest charge and my earnest passion is that the church, the body of Christ, will take a front seat in this quest for societal transformation. Because the church presents as God's choicest instrument for societal transformation. The church presents as God's only and choicest instrument. As the church goes, so goes the world. We are talking about, yes, the politicians and then all that. But as far as God is concerned, it is more of the church than even the politicians. Because he did not say that the politicians are the light of the world. He said that ye are the light of the world. If you're a politician and then you're a Christian, then you are a light. If you are a worker, a pharmacist, a medical doctor, an engineer, whoever you are, then you are the light. Why is it that our many prayers in Ghana and Africa hardly translates into the transformation of the heart and minds of the people? In fact, that is the core of the issue that we are talking about. That is the core of the issue that we are talking about. We are just, getting ready to wrap up. Yeah, as I said, the link is so being a thought or two concerning the subject matter. We will be glad if we're able to hear, different perspectives to these things. We call the dualistic kind of Christianity or dualism. The kind of Christianity that the missionaries brought. One of the major problems, and how do I put it? They did not bring it, say they want to come and mess up Ghana and Africa. It is the kind of Christianity that they had as of that time that they brought. And that is the kind of Christianity which has brought America and Europe to this far. What does it tell you? It tells you that if we continue in this trajectory, just as the Christianity that they had, the kind of Christianity that they had has not helped them. And today, America and Europe is becoming more paganistic and more secularized. In the same vein, if the church in Ghana and Africa continues in this same trajectory, we are going to have a big problem. So in the 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, the church in America and Europe, their focus was building heavy basilicas, big cathedrals, and then all. Instead of investing the time in raising tangible disciples, they were investing the time in monuments. Today, people have left and they are leaving the church en masse. And those monuments and then buildings that they invested into it, today it is being sold to become mosque. It is being sold to become, discotheques. It is being sold for even gay and then lesbian meeting centers. Can you imagine that places that used to house thousands of believers some years ago today have become a den for all kinds of homosexuality? What was the error? The error with the American and then the European Christianity was that the focus was not more on discipleship and grooming. The focus was rather more on what? Superficial external presentations, where they emphasize on buildings and cathedrals and making names, popularity context, and then hero worshiping, and then the most anointed papa, and then all. After na yenso bibini yenso ye fan World Cup, just as it happened to them If we don't change, it will happen to us. But we thank God that there are several people that are waking up by way of understanding, just as we are having some of these discourses. So the last one I'll end on is what I call the dualism, or the dualistic kind of Christianity. When we talk of dualism, dual is two. So the European or the American Christianity, or the white Christianity, the kind of Christianity, not the biblical Christianity, but the kind of Christianity that they brought to us, one of the problems was that it was dualistic. Dualistic means that it separated the acts of worship to God from our daily lives. And that was one of the, unfortunate mistakes of the missionaries, or the kind of Christianity that they brought to us, because they created a notion. I'm sure even up to now, you have heard things like, oh, my secular job. Anytime you hear something like that, it is from the roots of dualism. So the European kind of thinking is that we have what we do for God and to God, and we have what we do outside of the confines of God. Enti yewo my sacred duties and then my secular duties. So dualistic or European or Western dualistic Christianity separated sacred from secular. Sacred is what we do on at church, and then they buttressed it with misinterpretation of the text. The truth is that Bible here, the opposite, you can get a support for it once you take it out of context. It is statements like, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto, God what belongs to God. That was what was misunderstood. And I said that, oh, okay, so what we are doing for God is sacred. What we are doing for unto Caesar is secular. To the Christian, everything is sacred. To the Christian, the biblical thing is that, I say, demu ye bia mu didio mu no be demu ye bia no munye as of unto the glory of God. Munye evanshe nyamye munyam. So even in the basic things, even in our eating, at our workplace, in our education, everything is considered sacred to the believer. But Western Christianity or Western dualistic Christianity says that no, there is the sacred. That is your tithe paying. That is what you do at church. In Doko, sorry, 3 hours Sunday, that time, Now why you wash white, so for that is your sacred time. And the upieria, the akadie, nyame enhwemu. That is why when you visit the castles, you realize that on top of the dungeon, they had the chapel. And then beneath, they had slaves who were crying, who were dying, who were being mistreated and maltreated. But on Sundays and in weekdays, on top of these slaves, you have these white men gathering, and then the mulattoes, they will gather, and then they'll be having church service on Sunday. And you will have the castle priest preaching, not from the Quran, preaching from the Triplicata. No, he's preaching from the Bible. And he will be quoting the Bible, and then he'll be preaching to his fellow white men. And as they are preaching, then they go down there and then lash them some more. That is dualistic Christianity. There is time for church time there. Have you, especially, you see, I have an Orthodox background. One of the things that is quite funny is, especially when it's time for Holy Communion time. Oh boy. When it is time for communion, you realize that, in fact, we were imported. We were thrown fresh from heaven. Even the way we will walk to the front there or the aisle in order to take the communion. I say, heaven is Sanya Badam. And then I really love hymns. I mean, as a Methodist, I really love hymns. So always say, yeah, I am not worthy. And you be brave now more hymns, then you see us in the queue. In Tatia Kra Pese Oyeden, Utiaso. Oh, J communion now Ubuntu Unkotoyo Kakra. You say your posture is just so nice. Only a crow we. Oh yeah. Odru fie pa na se unhu how this guy or this woman will be insulting another or the neighbor. This same person, what is the difference? Dualistic Christianity. In fact, dualism or dualistic Christianity has done more woes to Africa than good. That is why we are more religious, but yet we are most corrupt. Because the same person now, Friday, and they all come paibono. Owia Sunday, obesa kwa sorry. Owia Monday, obewa ko bo apo ewa adwuma. Oye adwuma wo DVL o. Oye adwuma wo DVL. Obe preachi ewa Sunday. Sunday he is a man of God preaching. Oko Monday, oko tena dex no so a. Ode o license tu nanimu a. Ode oye bema emfa 100 Ghana en to so. Obeto kakanka. Why? Because dualistic. Need the say Miami I have paid my tithe on Sunday. Yesterday I went to church. I am done. Now what I do outside the confines of the church, it is none of your business. Is that Christianity? Obviously not. So that is dualistic Christianity. Until we liberate ourselves from this particular mindset, for us to understand that to the Christian, everything is sacred. So your marriage is sacred. Your education is sacred. Your work at the workplace, your pursuit of money. If you think this way, then you'll be interested in using kingdom values, the right approach to making money. And then the right approach to what is utilization. If we are to do this, then if we say that there are Christians at the company, they are not going to compromise in order to take bribes, in order to, do all those kind of shady deals, because they are operating under a higher authority, and that is the kingdom authority. But dualistic Christianity says that it doesn't matter. Just go to church on Sunday, just pay your tithe, just do the things, your sacred thing, who we are, your secular job, your secular, your world outside of the church is secular. And no, dear, Master, we are no different from the unbeliever. Our appetites are the same, our dressings are the same, our motives are the same, our inclinations and desires are the same. And in fact, our deeds are the same. And to some extent, we will, to some extent, it can be said that those are some of those kind of stuff that has limited our progress. I think I'll read maybe one comment. Yeah, I don't know, but lift up holy hands unto the Lord. Okay, so he said that, bro, I disagree with your assessment of Western Christianity. Discipleship was very much part of their worship. How long has it been since the Martin Luther's and John Wesley's past? Be fair to them. Very, very, very great. I don't know the name, but lift up your holy hands. Listen, yeah, that is very, very great. Yes, discipleship. This is the point. What I'll add to this point is that I'm talking of as of the point or as of the time that they were bringing it here. We know that, of course, the Martin Luther, we are talking of 16th century. And then majority of these missionaries, they came in 20th century. So let us get the timing right. I am not lumping everything together. What I'm saying is that the kind of Christianity that Europe had as of the time the missionaries were coming here. So I don't seek to, entirely say that Western Christianity has been wrong. Western Christianity, as of the time it was coming here, had certain lapses. The Martin Luther you are talking about, of course, you are talking about around 1520, 1530. That is 16th century. And then the missionaries, we are talking of around the 19th to the 20th century. Maybe just a quick example on it. Then I think we can then wrap up for today. This is the point. Reformation. We are calling for, or I am impassioned about reformation. Martin Luther, John Calvin, Martin Barker, and then the rest, John Knott and co., were the frontliners of what I call the first Reformation, because we are looking forward to a second Reformation. Now, what they did was great, perfect, because they took the church, that is what we call the beginning of Protestantism. And over that period, they had majority of their staffs right, although not all. We don't have time. Our time is up to delve into it. But they had majority of their staffs right, but still with certain limitations. Now, the problem is, over the period, the attention started drifting from the elements of the Reformation, and then things became more evangelical. So by the time it got to most of the revivalists, the periods of D.L. Moody and then co., there have been a bit of a drift. It was Martin Luther who actually pioneered public education. Education was a reserve for the knights and then the children of the kings and then all that. It was in 1525, and then in 1527, he wrote certain letters. And through it, he said that no, the priesthood of all believers, if every Christian is a believer or is a priest, then it is incumbent on every priest not to be ignorant. So he wrote letters to the king and then wrote letters to the elite. And that was the beginning of public school. So it was Christianity that gave the world public education, which, as I said, is at the, yes, a generation arose who did not know God. Yes, very, 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 very important. So what it means is there was a break. If there is consistency of discipleship, so I think you have even answered it. If there is consistency of discipleship, then it would have continued. But because there was a problem, or there was a break in it, that is why you will get a generation that did not know God. Because the baton, who dropped the baton? That is the question we should be asking. It is not possible that if we are passing on the baton, we will get a generation that did not know God. If we have a generation that did not know God, it means that along the line, the actual baton was dropped. And then we picked another baton that we assumed was that kind of baton. So the Martin Luthers, by the end of the 19th century, more than 90% of the universities in Europe and in America were founded, and not just founded, were headed by the church, and specifically by Christian pastors. For instance, Princeton was headed by Jonathan Edwards, and then several other people. Do we find it today? No. There was a problem along the line. It dropped. The greatest or the biggest or the greatest university in the world today is Harvard. Harvard, many people don't know that it was started by 6 pastors. Men of God came together. That is why their motto is Veritas, which is the Latin for truth, to be built on the foundation of truth. Today, Harvard has more atheist professors than Christians. Why? Because there was a drop along the line. The focus shifted from societal transformation, where discipleship was also included, and then it was drifted more and more towards winning souls. Jesus is coming soon, winning souls. And there was not a proper system of discipleship. So I think maybe I've clarified it. And I think your second post even answers it. It is true that, a generation arose, but the question is who dropped the baton? It happened along the line. All too soon, we will have to close down today's session. As I said, today should have been a discourse on the apparent, or are there errors in the Bible. We will take it in full session, God's willing, next week. We had a little challenge with our, facilitators tonight. So we had to yeah. The basilicas and then cathedrals they built were for a purpose at that time. If our generation doesn't see their relevance, it is not an indictment on them but us. Lift up holy hands unto the Lord. I would like to know the purpose other than serving for the gathering. Once it is a church, it was an enclave or a place to worship God. If there were other purposes other than that, I would like to know. Maybe for ceremonial purposes, to maybe the ceremonial induction of certain kings and then all that. But at the end of the day, it is not an issue of the building per se, because in the New Testament, the endorsement or the focus is never on any external building. So if they built it, it does not mean that that should be our focus. And moreover, apart from using it for church services and then all that, and maybe ceremonial programs, I would like to know if there are other functions. I'm not in the known of that. But whatever it is, it does not really endorse it. We, in the biblical, this is said that your bodies are the temples. We are not saying we cannot or we shouldn't build. We build in order to have a meeting place, but the emphasis should be on training and raising them to become, mighty generals for Christ, and then agents of transformation for our society. Yes, so God richly bless you very, very much for tonight. This has been your friend Joshua Ponsafo of the New African Concept. We will come your way next week again, where we will deal with the actual, topic. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. That is the New African Concept. And then also to get to our Facebook page, like it, and then let us get more interactive. The passion that we carry is that we see a new tomorrow. Ghana is heading towards a ditch. Africa is heading towards a ditch. And all of us must come together to salvage it. It is more than a possibility. It is beyond the action of one man or one organization or one movement. If you and I, we team up together, then surely it is possible. Before we sign off, we will say this, that remember always that we have, a world to shake. We have a continent that is Africa to liberate. We have a nation, Ghana, to save. And definitely we have the church to reform. Till we meet again next week, stay blessed, and then see ya. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Hi, I'm Joshua Ponsafo of the New African Concept. I believe strongly that you've been blessed so far with the various episodes of the Voice of Reformation. And I'm very much excited to inform you that with the next 3 months ahead, February, March, and then April, there is a special package in the area of apologetics. I know you have several questions on your mind, and so do I. For the month of February, we'll be considering the subject area of the Bible. So questions like, is the Bible truly the Word of God, or it is just a figment of human beings? And that, how did we even arrive at getting our Bible today? There are various versions of the Bible, and how did we even get that? And are they the same? Are they similar, or they are different? In the month of March, we'll also be looking at the subject of black skepticism. I believe you've heard and seen that there is a new wave that is called the woke, or black consciousness, the new form of Pan-Africanism, where they are hitting strongly that for Africa to advance, we must do away with everything called religion, particularly the Christian faith. Was Christianity carved by the white man in order to rule or manipulate the black man? Is it true that we have the Bible and in several churches doing the biddings of the white man? Is it even true that Christianity impedes growth or otherwise? Join me this and every Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Voice of Reformation as we look at these subjects. We have able facilitators, the likes of Elder Emmanuel Emisa, Pastor Jacob Honey, Pastor Patrick, Mark Edu Boateng, and then Kafui Tay. The good thing is also that the last Friday of every month, you get an opportunity to join in by bringing on board your questions so that we ask them for serious interactions. I believe that with all these interactions, the ultimate goal is that Ghana and by extension Africa will be liberated and saved. See ya.